start recording. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Quran circle. This is 6 easy steps. Lesson 8. Okay?
Today's 29.
So really quickly,
Wait, brothers, lesson 8.
lesson 8. The date is the 29th. Really quickly, this is a very popular trend and it's a really good thing. But it could be also dangerous too. But that's why I wanted to talk about this. Inshallah, how to hold a Quran circle. So last week we talked about having a Quran journal. Okay, remember we were talking about that? We went over steps on how to do it, how you're supposed to write reflections and things like this. Now, a Quran circle, this is where a group of people get together and they also have reflections on the Quran. How can this be very dangerous? Tell me. Yes.
Because if you say something wrong or not true, other people.
Very good. So if you have someone teaching you, or if you have discussions and they're all not very knowledgeable or they didn't really do their homework, then you can say something wrong and attribute it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or from the sunnah and you attribute it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is a very, very dangerous thing. Yes?
Kind of like what he said, if you don't have anybody too knowledgeable there, then you might take ayahs out of context.
Exactly. Okay? Yes?
And like even I want to add to what Yasin said. Like the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, he said that like for example, like maybe the man would like bring an innovation, for example.
Yes,
like,
to take a seat in the hellfire.
Yeah.
So any type of innovation or anything that is they attribute to the Prophet ﷺ that's not actually from him, the Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith, let him take his seat in the fire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us of being of those people and the hellfire in general. So there's two extremes that happen. One, you have people, they have Quran circles, like let's do a Quran halaqah, let's do circles. None of them have any idea what they're doing. They don't even they don't read the book beforehand. They don't study a scholar's work. They don't listen to different things about the lecture or to prepare. They just come in, let's read the ayah and let's see what we think. No, and that's one extreme. The second extreme is, and I've faced both before. So this one extreme. Second extreme, this is Allah's book, okay, and of course it is, but this is something that we cannot understand. And for us to even think about sitting and trying to take lessons from it, what are you trying to say? This is like, bid'ah, this is kufr almost, right? How can you think that you're going to sit down and explain the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How can you even dare try to do that? And you have to have 14 ulum before, they actually say that you have to have 14 ulum before you do any type of tafsir and things like that. And yes, I agree. You have to be very, very learned, a very great scholar to do tafsir of the Quran. But guess what? We're not doing tafsir. Okay? We're not doing tafsir of our own thoughts. Like for example, none of the teachers here, and I would say not even in the US, I don't think anyone's capable and has enough knowledge to do tafsir of the Quran. I don't think anyone does, okay, in the US. But what are the people doing that are doing, explaining the Quran and things like that over here in the US? Or for that part, they're taking the works from the scholars, they're explaining it, they're even dumbing it down many times, okay? And they're propagating that message of the scholars of all these different ulama who have put their lives into this research. So this is a huge difference, and of course, we don't take both of these extremes. We don't take this approach where we say that Quran, everyone can just pick it up and start reading it and take whatever you want. And we don't take that. And the second extreme we don't take is that, the Quran is something we can't touch. Nobody touches it except the great scholars. And this is the two extremes. We need to be a moderate ummah where we take in the middle, that we know what our limits are. We understand that we are not scholars of Quran. We are not ulama who can come and just take the Quran and do whatever we want with it and understand it in the way we want. Okay, we look at the greater ulama and we take from their lessons and so on, and we present it to our classes. Yes.
Some people just might start talking in different countries and the World Cup just continue from there, and they won't stop talking. They change subject.
What?
Okay. In the tafsir you mean, or when?
No, in the circle.
Oh yeah. So that's another topic by itself, like how to keep the circle concentrated on the Quran, not going into other things. That's what we're going to talk about. So the first step in order to do a good Quran circle, at least one member, at least. Why I say at least? Because One member should at least have enough, you could say, knowledge to propagate, okay, and to be able to guide everyone in the right direction, right? But the more the better. If you have 2, 3 people who've done their research, for example, maybe there's one ayah, maybe there's one page, whatever it is, they decide before, okay, we're going to sit down, we're going to discuss this in the Quran circle. This is a good thing. But 1 or 2 people, 3 people should prepare beforehand. Yes? Say it louder, the windows.
This is one of the dangers. Before starting a Quran circle, you should check the members about their intention.
Yeah.
Some people, they're actually going to go, and once they learn the Quran, mashallah, they come.
You know, it's interesting. Maulana Maududi, if you know who he is, he was a great scholar or a great person from Pakistan, and he wrote a tafsir. It's not tafsir. It's called Tafheemul Quran. It's more of like he took the commentary, different things of different scholars, and then he put it together. It's a very good historical perspective as well, and it's like common times like Sayyid Qutb. We talked about this last week too. So anyway, so one of his students, and he was a very good student of his, and he was excelling. He was very intelligent. His name was Ghulam Ahmed Pervez. Anyone know who this guy is? He passed away some years ago. Ghulam Ahmed Pervez, he was from Pakistan. He was a very intelligent, very knowledgeable and everything, and he was a student of Maulana Maududi. And Ghulam Ahmed Pervez, he started this thing, it was called the Pervezi, or they named it after him pretty much later. It was the Quraniyun. They only take the Quran, they leave the Sunnah. Okay? And it's called Pervezi, and Pervezi, there's lots of them still to this day. They leave the Sunnah, they only take the Quran. They say we only look and follow the Quran. And of course it doesn't make any sense. But anyways, Maulana Maududi, when he was alive, rahmatullahi alayhi, he mentioned that when one time he left, because of the questions that this guy would ask, Ghulam Ahmed Pervez would ask in the lectures and so on, he would actually say, he said, you know, I fear this student of mine, I feel that he's going to go and take some people with him in the wrong direction. Okay? And he would try to advise him, but of course, some people just don't want to listen. But anyways, the first thing is that the people, there should be at least a person or 2, 3 people who study beforehand and know the material so they're ready to present. The second thing that is essential for any good Quranic circle, the rest should then join in, further elaborating, correcting, modifying, raising questions, or providing answers. Okay, if they know it a little bit better, they could chime in. They could be a part of the discussion. On Saturdays, I'm teaching the last 10 surahs, basically a commentary on the last 10 surahs in one masjid. Okay, I go there, and this masjid, there's 30, sometimes 35, 40 people sitting there, all of them just looking at me, and I ask them sometimes to ask, like I ask you guys. Some guys, mashallah, a lot of you try to participate, you give me some feedback, you talk about things, that's great. This masjid, everyone's just staring at you like this, and they don't want to say anything at all. So no, a good Quran circle is not where one person talks, but everyone participates, okay, in some way or another. Yes?
So, like, this is an example of my dad's Hanafi's, they don't go into very, advanced stuff, basic stuff, so each one is assigned, and you're supposed to do everything you have. And each week they randomly pick one person, and okay, like, today you have to do this translation of this, today you have to do the sirah, today you have to do the hadith.
Yeah.
So they have this different people, so all of you get to talk.
Yeah. And mashallah, and that's a good thing. And like Ramil mentioned in the beginning about the intention, we all have to check our intentions. Why are we doing it? Why am I teaching this? Why am I sitting here? Why do I like to be a part of this halaqah? These types of things. Because sometimes it becomes this thing like, I want to talk, okay? Or I want to be showing people that I have some knowledge. I have this, I have that, whatever. So we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, and we have to ask Him to make our intentions correct so that we get rewarded for the actions that we do. Number 3. So if all of the members are required to study, then you may either designate beforehand who will do the presentation. This will result in better standards of presentation. This will also keep everyone alert and working hard. So if there's certain members who are presenting, okay, then again, it's good to, or if everyone's going to present something, you have some type of order. Maybe you have one person who's the Amir. That person is in charge or the lead, he's the facilitator. He's the one who leads the discussion. So now everyone's talking and it turns into some type of argument, okay, and debate. Because that's one of the dangerous things that could happen. Someone gets some information and they come and it turns into a debate and it could get very heated. So you have to be careful of that. Number 4. Number 3 again. So again, designating people, having a facilitator who is watching or being careful of the discussion, okay, and leading it. Especially if it's starting to get off track, you bring it back to what you guys were supposed to be talking about. Number 4. It will always be useful if at least one member of the circle is more knowledgeable and has access to sources. Okay? So at least one person, we mentioned this before too, they're a little bit more knowledgeable where they can go to some specific sources and take the discussion to a little bit of a higher level and let everyone benefit from this. Okay? Also, like my brother, he's an imam in one masjid, and so when they have a Quranic discussion, what they do is they have him, he studies of course beforehand, and he doesn't present, he lets everyone else present because people want to, talk and things like that. So he lets them present, but he sits there, and if there's something if again the discussion's going a little bit off topic, or if it's going a little bit, maybe they had a misunderstanding about something, maybe they listened to something incorrectly, so he'll correct them, okay? And he'll talk about it and they'll discuss it more. So this is, the point of having someone like this. Number 5, okay, so again, the person who's leading the discussion, or the head of the discussion, the one who's a little bit more knowledgeable, they shouldn't intervene. They shouldn't basically butt into people's part of the discussion unless it's necessary. Some people, what happens is because they're more knowledgeable, okay, like someone starts to talk and then he goes, oh yeah, I read that, and this is the book it's in, and this, and they start talking about, they basically take control of it. If you're knowledgeable, that's good, but keep it to yourself until it's needed, right? And maybe that person is going to elaborate later. Give them the chance, right? Let them talk. Don't take it over. Yes.
The other thing they do is, after they finish one part, they have a discussion. Okay, what did you learn? Do you have anything you want to say about it? It's a discussion before or after each round.
Yeah. And so it says over here, like, suggestive and interrogative meaning, asking questions, leading the discussion again, suggesting different ideas. Don't be discursive, meaning trying to stop their discussion or stop what they're thinking. Yes. Yeah. Number 6, towards the end, one member, preferably the leader or the teacher, should always sum up the broad message of the passage, its main themes, and its call to action. So giving the teacher or whoever is facilitating this discussion or the Quran class or whatever, at the end they summarize what was discussed and they take practical lessons that people can implement in their life. Okay? Taking things that you can actually walk away from, talking points that you can actually take, and you're like, I remember this ayah, or I know how to practice this ayah, or this hadith, or whatever it may be, from that summary. Okay, so something practical at the end. Now, when I'm going to test you on these things later, inshallah, I'm not going to ask you to write the whole paragraph and explain it exactly, but in general terms, and some of them are similar, so don't worry about it too much. Okay? So again, someone who summarizes the message at the end. Okay, now what are some sources of tafsir? Okay, now for most of us and for most people, these things would be far advanced, right? The Quran, the first number one, it says the first source, the tafsir with tafsir, or the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're explaining one ayah by using different ayat in the Quran. Remember, the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's repeated many, many times in the Quran. So, for example, if you're talking about like Tawheed is mentioned on every single page of the Quran, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the concept of worshipping Him alone and so on is mentioned thousands and thousands of times, if not every single page of the Quran, or several times on every page. So the point over here, you use the Quran to describe or explain the Quran. And this is a very popular method of explaining. Number 2 is you use the Sunnah. Okay? So like Tafsir al-Tabari, of course, it's full of explaining the Quran with Quran and the Sunnah.
That's most of it.
Yeah.
And then he has his opinion after the.
Yeah, of the scholars of the past and so on, and he mentions that too. However, the majority of the discussion is the authentic sources. Then number 3 is the Sahaba. So what did the Sahaba, especially Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the great scholars of the Quran, what did they say about these verses? Right? And we'll talk about them later, inshallah. Ubay ibn Ka'ab radiallahu anhum, and all these different great Sahaba, what their opinions were about this verse. Number 4, ijma'. So if there was ijma' about an ayah of the Quran, if there was ijma', meaning there's a scholarly consensus. So all the fuqaha, they have for example, maybe amongst the Sahaba, all of them, not one, okay, not even one rejected.
Not the majority, all of them.
Yes.
All.
Ijma' is all, not majority. Okay? So every single one of them agrees to this opinion, for example. So this is another part of tafsir. Number ijma', consensus. Consensus means everyone, not even one is left out. Ijma', yeah, it's ijma' means jama'. Jama' means everyone. Ijma'. It's okay. So number 5, pre-Islamic poetry. So how can pre-Islamic poetry help in tafsir? Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I read this extended in general. It's actually the language of the Arab.
Yeah.
It's not only poetry. Like they look at, well, it's mostly they use poetry to get the meaning of the certain like word or something that seems weird.
Yeah.
Seem really not.
It's not a common word.
Yeah.
And it's maybe not used in that sense anymore. And so like the Imam Shafi, rahmatullahi alayhi, are great scholars, especially of Arabic poetry and Arabic language. What they would do is sometimes, if they didn't know what the word was or how it was used, they would actually go into a Bedouin society, okay, like that was close to the Arabs and basically in, close to the Hijaz or close to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are still using that fusha and so on. Sometimes for years they would be just studying and they don't want to go directly ask them, how do you use this word, okay, or what does this word mean? They want to use it the way they use it, okay, or they want to hear it in the way they use it. So they sit there sometimes for years upon years, and then all of a sudden someone uses it in their normal language, and they're like, oh, that's what the word means. Okay, and then they take it and they write it in their tafsir, for example. And this is, of course, not a 100% source, and this is must, but this is after the Quran and Sunnah and so on. If they can't find the meaning of the word, then they would look into this type of work, or they would go out and into the study field and actually study the people who use this language. Okay, then number 6 is customs. How it was in their customs, or basically the urf. Okay, so urfi, like how according to that society, how it was used. Okay, the customary or customs, and then looking at the tafsir and so on in that way. And number 7, finally, ijtihad. Okay, ijtihad, it's basically the fuqaha, the great scholars, the faqihs of the ummah. They come and they do juhud. They strive. They spend their life on a certain issue. So they spend they take those, and their ijtihad, you could say, is found in their books, in their lectures, and all these different things. And they would take from that and they would use it in the tafsir. Now for us, okay, number 1 and 2 is probably enough. Maybe 3. Okay? For the scholars, like if you're sitting in, like one of my teachers, he was using, but he wasn't, he was using Ma'riful Quran, and it's a great book, and it was written in Urdu, and it's translated in English as well. But he was using this to explain, and he took, I think it was like 13 years to explain the entire Quran. He was doing it on just Sundays, and he would every Sunday he would have about 45 minutes or so, And my dad, he would force me to sit. Like at the beginning, I hated it. I mean, I was a kid, like 9, 10 years old. But subhanAllah, you learn so much, and so many things stick to your head because of these things and over all the years. So he took 12, 13 years. I don't remember exactly, but I remember I was in college when he finished. Okay, and so these type of lessons, these are things that like now that was once a week. Okay, and then sometimes if he's going for Hajj, Ramadan, different breaks throughout the year. Imagine there's scholars doing this. I forget his name, but he's very very famous, mashallah, in Medina. He teaches Sahih al-Bukhari, and he teaches almost over 20 some years. Okay, do you remember his name? He has a very big halaqah, mashallah, in Medina. I don't remember his name right now. One of the senior scholars of Saudi Arabia. And he has thousands of students sitting there. And he's teaching from the beginning of Bukhari to the end. And sometimes 15, 20 years it takes for him to finish. And that's not just once a week. He's doing it every single day. Okay? So that's another thing about Medina. Masjid Nabawi, it's a university by itself. It's the Prophet's university. Yes?
Like for example, in Pakistan, we have an advantage where we have Dr. Israr Ahmed.
Yeah.
The classes that I don't listen to because they're
Yeah.
so I can't understand most of it.
Yeah.
But they're like
I studied his work actually, alhamdulillah.
You
And
discuss
yeah, Dr. Israr Ahmed. Big guy needs some room, man. Okay. Okay, sit up too. He woke him up. So, but anyways, Dr. Israr Ahmed, rahmatullah alayhi, he passed away a few years ago. He was a great student of Quran. Okay, I wouldn't call him a scholar of Quran, but he was a great student of Quran. And a lot of people benefited from him in his work. And I've been studying his work, his tafsir and different things for quite a while. But mashallah, very, very good. Most of his stuff is audio and visual though. He doesn't really have a written work. He has mostly audio and visual. He took different tafsirs and yes.
He has a book that they were selling at the Numerian Refinery.
What is it called? Oh yeah, Islamic Renaissance. The real task ahead. Yeah, actually, Dr. Israr Ahmed, I actually know Nu'man Ali Khan from back in the day. So we were in the same organization, and we were studying actually his works way back in the like 98, I think it was 99, 98 or something like that. I'm not really friends. I've known him. I'm not friends with him, I guess. But yes, yes.
Does he know you?
Yeah. We communicate sometimes, but the thing is, though, the point is that the point is,
recognize him from selling on the market.
yes, but point is, he benefited a lot from Dr. Israr Ahmed, rahmatullah alayhi. A lot of people, mashallah, they've studied with him or studied through him and his works, and they're very good. Anyways, suggested readings of the Quran. I'm going to go through this quickly. Don't write them down. I'm going to go through it. I will email you this.
Little time left. Can I do my tasmiyah?
No. Suggested readings of the Quran. How much time do we have? We have 7 minutes. Okay, quickly, inshallah. I'm going to email you these. But this was, actually, you can look at this. I'll email you the link. So this is from Sound Vision. And I put this as lesson number 9. But you could kind of put it in this. So what are you supposed to use for a Quran circle? What are you supposed to study first from the Quran? Are you supposed to start from Surah Al-Fatiha and work your way all the way till end, in the end? Well, that would be really ideal, but a lot of times we don't have time. And one of the things that Dr. Israr Ahmed did, rahmatullah alayhi, again, may Allah have mercy on him, he did a beautiful thing, and he took from other scholars. There was Amin Ahmed Islahi, a great scholar from India, and Maulana Maududi, and some great other scholars of Pakistan, India, and the Hind in general. What they did is they summarized the entire message of the Quran into about 40 lessons. Okay, that I didn't put up here, but they took a lot of this as it has to do with these. So they summarized the entire Quran into about 40 to 45, 50 lessons, and there's different works on this. And to get the entire message of the Quran, you could find it in those verses. Please sit up, guys.
Is it in English?
Water.
I don't have water. So this, don't drool on the desk, please. So this message of the Quran, okay, could be summarized, and this is what it is. I'm going to give you the link, inshallah, at soundvision.com. You can find it on there. It's 12 suggested readings of the Quran. Now, I don't know why they call it 12, because they broke it apart into so many. So this is like 3 years of halaqas. If you're doing a weekly halaqah or a circle, Quran circle, you can use this material for the rest of the year. So there's different parts, like they have on tawheed, on ruku and sujood, and acts of worship, and they have it categorized. There is a book that used to be here.
So I have 2 questions.
I don't remember.
What is it called?
It was topics of the Quran, thematic approach of the Quran. I don't remember the name. It was in English too, but hold on.
English books are probably better.